Hello, Buckeye fans. Welcome to the last week of spring practice of 2025. Dave, it's crazy that we've already gone through. It feels like just yesterday we were watching that national championship game, and now we're here, and it's the end of spring. We'll get into kind of some major takeaways and what we expect in the spring game in a minute. But we just got done talking to wide receivers, specialists. We talked to Ryan Day, the coordinators, yesterday. Anything of note that you think kind of came out of today and the guys that you talked to?
Jeremiah Smith is just so likable, and it feels like he hasn't let any of this go to his head somehow. He's still the same Jeremiah that we got to know when he first got here last year. He's just, I even asked him, like, how's it feel to look at this national championship banner and all this signage, knowing that you played a huge role and he lit up ear to ear. He just has such a great personality, but now he's focused on repeating and getting better. And it's like, what can he get better at? He's like, I can get better at everything, and so his attitude just jumps off the page to me, and couldn't be more impressed. I mean, he's a great example of how he's the perfect example of how they get 5-star players and 5-star young men.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just across the board. Now he's, almost like a 6-star player, but seriously, man, I mean, he's a really good young man, and it's so much fun to know the Buckeyes have him for not just one more year, but 2 more years, which really, he probably should be able to go to the NFL for this year, but he can't, so that's the way it is.
Yeah. I think Buckeye fans will be thankful for that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. We were here on Saturday for the Student Appreciation Day practice, and just over there, they finish. Students are all kind of down here in the end zone. They are allowed to go talk to players, get autographs, whatever. And the mob around Jeremiah Smith was just nuts. And I don't know, you and I, we aren't famous. I can't imagine that situation. Ask Coach Day, ask Coach Hartline about that. And Brian Hartline has a perspective, right? He played in the NFL. He's a recognizable guy. I'm sure that he's dealt with some of that, but he wasn't Jeremiah Smith, especially during his time at Ohio State. No disrespect to Brian Hartline, a very good receiver, but I mean, this is maybe Terrell Pryor was the last guy that just was that recognizable that early in his career. I don't know. There's probably others that we could think of, but just a lot to deal with, and he seems, as you said, to be dealing with it really well. Other receivers we talked to today, and I'll just start with some of the guys I did. Brandon Inniss, super impressive. I think people, you've seen a little bit of him. He's going to have a much bigger role this year. He was already a leader for this team. I think it's going to be really fascinating to watch just how he steps into that slot receiver role. He says he has to be able to do everything, just like Emeka and Buka. Mylan Graham is a guy that I don't think we're talking about enough. Maybe not this year. Maybe it's next year, in 2026, when he really breaks out. But we saw on Saturday some of the things he can do over the middle. Again, a guy who arrived less than a year ago, which I asked him about, and he said, yeah, I think about that a lot, that I haven't even been here that long. And, I'm on my own journey because, unlike a lot of guys, he came in the summer. So, 2 guys there that I think could certainly impress. We'll see what role Mylan Graham has, but Brandon Inniss definitely going to be a major player for the Buckeyes receiving game this year.
Definitely, and I thought he was in good shape last year. He looks like he's trimmed down a little bit. He's a strong receiver, tough receiver, and I think he's going to have a breakout year taking over as that slot receiver. But they're moving guys around, like Jeremiah is even playing a little bit in the slot. Obviously, Jeremiah is going to be mostly on the outside, but they're moving guys around. You see the Bengals do that with Jamar Chase, where they move him around everywhere, where it's like, okay, you think you can just take him to the outside, we're going to move him to the slot. That's not what defenses want to see when you have a generational talent at wide receiver. So, yeah, I think Brandon Inniss coming in, especially when you're that number 3 receiver, you can't double him. You can't double Brandon Inniss. You got not only Jeremiah Smith, you have Carnell Tate, who's coming off a big year. He's going to have a bigger year now, his junior year, his money year. Again, I think Inniss is going to have a breakout year. And then, who's going to be that next guy? As Pat saying, it's probably going to be Mylan Graham.
Bryson Rogers.
Yeah. Quincy Porter is a freshman that does not look like a freshman.
Lost his black stripe, first freshman to do so.
Yeah, exactly. Lost it before even a Devin Sanchez, who everybody talks up. So he'll probably be the next one to lose it. But Quincy was the first one to lose it. I had a chance to talk with him just really quick off to the side after he talked to the media, just to introduce myself. And very nice young man. And my gosh, is he 6'4"? At least. It looks like he's 6'5" to me. So, Quincy Porter. Now, is he going to play a lot as a true freshman? Probably not. Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't even play a lot as a true freshman. So, probably not going to play a lot as a true freshman. Jeremiah Smith has been the exception to that rule. Garrett Wilson to some extent, especially with Jeremiah being here and Carnell and Brandon. It's going to be hard if you're that number 5 or number 6 receiver to get on the field. But that number 4 receiver is going to get some run because that was Brandon Inniss last year.
Right.
He didn't play probably as much as he wanted to last year, but he was still you would see number 11 on the field last year. Now number 1, by the way. And so whoever that number 4 receiver, probably Mylan Graham, is going to get some playing time. But if you're not in that top 3, you're not going to play that much.
Yeah, and let's remember, Ohio State's wide receivers stayed really healthy last year.
They did.
Right? We've seen, you only have to go back to Jackson Smith and Jigba to kind of an oh crap moment in that first game of the season. Like, our star receiver, you hope this obviously doesn't happen, but you got to have guys ready. It sounds like these guys are getting ready. And they also talked about some of the guys, I'm not sure about the guys you talked to, but building that connection with these quarterbacks, which you don't know which quarterback's going to win this job. We've talked about it before. We think it'll be Julian Sayin, but we watched Lincoln Kienholz have a really good practice the other day. Ryan Day said yesterday, neck and neck at the quarterback competition, or at the quarterback spot between Julian Sayin and Lincoln Kienholz, with Tavian St. Clair probably behind them just because he doesn't have the experience. These receivers have to build chemistry with both of these guys, be ready. How much do you think Saturday's spring game weighs when we were talking about that quarterback competition?
Not very much. Not very much. Okay. It doesn't not matter. Sorry for the double negative there. It matters, but it matters a little bit. All right. It's one of 15 practices in the spring is the way you look at it. So it's not nothing, but it's certainly not anything where like, oh, whoever plays better in the spring game is the guy. I mean, people were wondering about Justin Fields after his first spring game. Last year, people were like, oh, I think Devin Brown looks better than Will Howard. How do those situations turn out? So I would just caution you guys not to put too much stock in what happens during the spring game. Have fun and put some stock in it. Ryan Day's not going to ignore the results. It's going to be another data point that he's going to use to know who his starting quarterback is. Do I believe right now he has a good feeling who his starting quarterback is? Yes. I think Ryan Day pretty much knows right now. But I also think it's a lot closer than people expected, myself included, because Lincoln looks good. My money would still be on Julian to be the starting quarterback, but Lincoln looks good. And I say this all the time. This is his third year focusing just on football after playing like 9 different sports and being great at all of them. So and he looks good. So I think they're in good hands either way. And I tell you what, in the future, don't expect anything this year from them. You never know. Well, in 2014, they were down to their third string quarterback, so you never know. But Tavian St. Clair, I think, is going to be a really good one here. I know I'm not really breaking news there, but I've been impressed with his physicality when they went live. He's not afraid to throw that big body around. I'm very impressed with his maturity, which is huge for a quarterback, the way he carries himself. Tavian St. Clair is going to be a good one here one day. Be patient with him, though. He's from a small school here in Ohio, Bellefontaine. But as that number 3 quarterback, he gives them good depth. I think it'll be Julian, but if Lincoln wins the job, or let's say Julian wins the job and gets hurt, I think Lincoln can take this team where they need to be. And hey, everybody likes a good quarterback competition, right, Patrick?
Absolutely. And you mentioned Tavian. I thought on Saturday, and I know you were focusing a lot more on defensive stuff, but you're still seeing this. Tavian made some good decisions, including just throwing the ball. Like, there was a 4th down that they had, nothing there. Instead of taking a hit, he just threw the ball out of bounds. Yeah, you know, they were basically in the red zone, so the team has to come the other way. I thought it was a smart decision from a young player. And he made some good throws. He ran the ball a little bit, which they're going to need to do to some degree in this offense. So I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be this season. You hope it's not this season for him unless he takes some humongous leap here and wins the starting job. But I think you've got a guy certainly for the future. As you said, that's not a surprise. He was a 5-star prospect and whatnot. But he is coming from Bellefontaine.
Right.
Before he was committed to Ohio State, his ranking wasn't that high. So I did want to see what it looked like once he got here. And Ryan Day said things are still moving really fast for him, right? As you would expect. But if that's moving really fast, I think it looks pretty good to start. Saturday, as you mentioned, one data point. But it'd also be the lasting impression for fans, but also these coaches. Now, they'll review the film from everything, right? But what are maybe 1 or 2 things that you'll be looking at coming out of this that you hope you see that'll stick with you throughout the rest of the offseason until we get to fall camp?
Yeah, I'm gonna be focused on the trenches for sure. I mean, I know we all like to follow the ball and the skill position players, but I'm gonna try to force myself to focus a lot on the offensive line and the defensive line. I'm really curious, how does Ethan Onyeonwu look? I know he can be a force. How is his quickness against some of these speed rushers Ohio State's going to throw at him? Because they are going to go live. They're going to start off thudding up, if you guys haven't heard, and then after that, after maybe I'm guessing after roughly midway through the first quarter, maybe starting the second quarter, then they're going to go live the rest of the scrimmage, not including the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks won't be live. So how does Onyeonwu look? How does Daniels look? How does the offensive line overall look? And then defensive line. I like the starters, the projected starters, who are going to be the top backups. Well, I have no doubt Logan George is going to be one of the top backup DNs. CJ Hicks is running there. You have Dominic Kirks, Zion Grady. What I'm really curious about is backup defensive tackle.
Yes.
Because I like Caden McDonald and Edric Houston D tackle. Who's going to be that number 3 D tackle, the first guy off the bench? I think it'll be Will Smith Jr. His dad was pretty good here. And it could be Tywone Malone, who's now entering his 5th year. Could be Jason Moore, who, much like Will Smith Jr., is a 3rd-year sophomore. Another guy in the mix is redshirt freshman Eric Mensah. So you got 4 guys kind of in the mix there for those 2 spots on the 2 deep, those final 2 spots on the 2 deep. Who are going to seize those spots? So how do the D tackles look? How's the offensive line look? Because there's really not, really the only starting position on defense that's up for grabs is between McLean and Hartford at safety. We're not going to learn anything because I doubt Downs is going to play that much. And whoever loses that battle between Hartford and McLean, I still think they're going to play a lot. Whoever that number 3 safety is, I think they're still going to play a lot off the bench. So whether it's Hartford or McLean, both those guys are going to play a lot. This is some of the things I'm looking for. And obviously how the quarterbacks look, but I can't go back on what I said. It's just, it matters, but it matters a little bit.
Yeah, I hope we get to see the running backs during these top 2, I would say, of C.J. Donaldson and James Peoples during the live tackling period of, once they get through maybe that first quarter or whatever, just to get a feel of what these guys can do. I have a lot of belief in both of them, but I want to see it. Also on the offensive side of the ball, the tight end room, it's so deep.
Yes.
How is that working out?
Jeez.
Where's Max Clare? When we were out here on Saturday, Jelani Thurman was doing a lot of first-team stuff. Just kind of how is that group coming along? How are they breaking down who's out there, who's not? We won't get full answers on this. It is a spring game after all, but will give us at least an idea, and I think that's important. The specialists, that was obviously something last year, the last few years, I should say, that continues to be a thing. How's the kicking? How's the punting? We were just talking to John Froman, who was a great interview, by the way. I recommend watching that on our YouTube page. He was fantastic. Guys like that, just how are things progressing with the special teams as well? And you hope, it's a clean game, guys stay healthy, and, walk out of there feeling good coming out of spring practice, which there'll always be things to clean up. But
that's the biggest thing, man. I just want to see everybody stay healthy. I don't want to see any injuries in the spring game. Was it Mitchell Melton 2 years ago that went down late in the game and ended up missing the 2023 season? At least Mitchell was able to come back and, was playing a reserve role on the national championship team. Yeah, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, especially any serious injuries. So hopefully everybody stays healthy. But we can't have it both ways, right? We can't say we want to see them play real football and then be mad if anybody gets hurt. He's not going to have anybody like Caleb Downs or any of the quarterbacks or Jeremiah going live. But if somebody does get hurt, I guess that's the price of doing business when you're playing a violent sport. But hopefully, with them going live as much as they are, which I love, hopefully everybody stays healthy.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have it all covered for you. Dave's got to get out of here. It is Taco Tuesday. He's very excited about this.
Well, I haven't eaten anything.
I haven't either. So I guess
it is Taco Tuesday. Every day is taco whatever for me, but especially Taco Tuesday.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll have more, obviously, throughout the rest of this week. But after the game, Dave will have what we learned live. Steve and I will hop on there as well. So we will talk to you all then. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys. Good stuff.